Detecting Talk of the Day, August the 2nd, 4:05 p.m. Central Daylight Savings Time. It is smoking humid out here, boys and girls. Today's Detecting Talk of the Day, we're going to look at the Deus 2. Calabash Digger and I, we had a good, intelligent conversation yesterday. The Deus 2 and the Manicore were talked about, but this is not about the Manicore. This is only about the Deus 2. Anybody that's run one of these machines in a high iron sight, you'll realize you get some, say you're running pitch tone 6.8 disc with some fairly low silencer, like 1. You're going to get some signals that reach 6, 7, 8, and 9 and give tone. You can dig those, and I agree with Calabash. If you dug 100 of those signals, how many non-ferrous would you find? What percent exactly? So is it worthwhile to do this? It could be a waste of your time, right? Instead of you sweeping your coil to get overified, you could be digging a piece of iron. So where does the sharpshooter stand on this? I've looked at this detector some more today. You get to run your machine any way you want to. I'm just going to give you my take. Fast and sensitive FT, that would probably be, this would apply to the sensitive program. Now, silencer 1 in the fast, silencer 1 in the sensitive FT. This machine does a pretty good job. Sharpshooter's take is, now if you want to, and it's going to depend if you want an iron tone or not. If you want an iron tone, notch the machine 6 to 12. If you don't want an iron tone, just notch it from 0 all the way to 12. That's how this machine is currently set up. This is version 2.0.0. The fast program and the sensitive FT are identical on this machine to version 1.1. And the fast program on this machine is identical really to version 0.71, except you don't have an iron tip on-off setting adjustment. I recommend running the iron tip off. That's my recommendation. High iron sights. Okay? Let me turn this camera off briefly. Okay, so like I said, we're going to look at sensitive FT and fast programs, version 2.0.0, with a notch of 6 to 12 first. And then I'm going to take the notch out in a couple of examples here. One example. Okay, now you do get to hear iron tone with a 6 to 12 notch. You get to hear an iron tone. Okay, so I've got this nickel and nail layout here. Okay, this is the fast program. So it's hitting it. Now, in the wild, if you got a strike, one of the clues may be is to wiggle the coil over a little. See what that ID's doing? 13. I might dig a signal doing that. It's not a broad signal, notice? It's not a broad signal. Okay, now, over here at this dime and this nail, now that's a high conductor. Hear it striking, and then when we hover the coil, see what happens. Okay? Now we're going to go to sensitive FT. Okay? Back over this nickel over here. Mixture of nails. Okay? So we're getting a high ID there. Over here on the dime, we're getting an 86. Okay? Now, we're going to remove the nickel here. We're going to leave it in sensitive FT. Hear that? Iron tone. We don't hear what we heard with the nickel down there, do we? Okay, now I'm going to switch to fast program. Iron tone. You hear that? But watch what happens here in the fast program. I'm going to take the notch of 6 through 12 out. See it in there? The notch is coming out of the machine. This is 6.8 disc silencer 1. What happens now? You hear that? We didn't hear that with that notch in that machine, did we? I'm going to put the notch back in. There it is. Sweep again. Iron tone. Okay. Now, I'm going to move this stuff over here. Let's look at this little Ferris gadget right here. Just see what happens. Now, the notch is in the machine. Notice what happens when we hover that. We're getting a little bit of a peck on it. But when we hover it, we don't see any positive ID coming in. Now, iron tit is off, okay? Now I'm going in the machine and I'm going to take the notch out. What does this sound like now? Hear that? And I'm going to hover it. We get a much stronger signal on it. Hear that? Alright, now I'm going to put the notch back in. Alright, what do we get? So that's not as alerting to us, is it? You see the performance on those nails there when we have the notch in versus out. Okay? So that's the sharpshooter's take. To keep you from wasting your time digging a lot of holes with a lot of iron in them, and for you to be able to keep your call moving. So when you get that signal, I'm still in the fast program. So when you get that strike, hear that? You hear that? And then you hover that call. Look what happens there. You got a low reading, but it's not reading 9 or it's not reading 8, is it? Okay, so probably what I should do here, so you get to see that. Okay, hovering a call. Here's some call height. Hear that? See that? 13, 17. Now let's go in here and take the notch out. Now, iron tit is off. See it? Off. Alright, what do we get here? Look what's in the meter. See that? That old number 8 and number 7 is in there. You see that? Back over here on these nails, and I'm going to get this quarter out of here. See these nails here? Now the notch is not in the machine. Listen. Hear that? We got a 7 in the meter. Here's a dime. All right, now I'm going to hover the coal. Even hovering the coal there never yields anything over a 9. But when I've got the notch in the machine of 6 through 12, and I sweep over this, we're hearing it. Now I'm hovering it, and I've got a positive number in the window. Above 12. Now I'm going to remove the dime. Now all is there is the nail. Okay? Again, now I'm back over here with the notch in the machine. You see, you would pass right over that. If we take the notch out, and you sweep over this, you hear that. You're like, whoa, what's that? So you know what I mean? You're looking at the meter and you're doing whatever. Now, listen, disclaimer here. Sharpshooter cannot sweep this detector and call over every possible ferrous combination out there. That would be impossible. Okay, so even if I went out and spent 2 weeks doing this in the wild, it wouldn't be ironclad, would it? I can only tell you what I've seen. So you users of the Deus 2 hunting high iron sights wanting to keep, for all practical purposes, maximum unmasking separation, running some higher speed, lower silencer, a 6 through 12 notch will allow you to still have an iron tone, still hear some fairly, hard mass targets. Okay? That's going to do it. I am burning up out here, boys, no longer than I have been out here. I hope you have a nice day.